Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video here on FPL Now. Today we're going to be going over some of the cheapest defenders, midfielders and forwards that you should be thinking about bringing into your FPL team for the 2022-23 season. So if you're excited for the video, drop a like down below, leave a comment or any of these players making their way into your team, subscribe if you're brand new, and let's get into the video. So, starting things off, just want to make this adamantly clear that this is not an FPL draft at all. As you can see, most of these players are 4.5 mil. They are just players that you should be thinking about bringing into your squad to allow those extra funds for the better premium players. All of these players should be starting after like their transfers and stuff. A lot of them are kind of in the middle of transferring to different clubs. So that's why they're kind of still with their old club, because they've not, I guess, technically signed for the new club. But either way, there's just been very like strong links and stuff with them. But obviously starting in goal, I've got Mendy in there. I just think he is the best keeper to start this season with. And we've also got Raya as well. So Raya, I think, is one of the best 4.5 mil players that you can have, just because of the fixtures at the start of the season. After Leicester and United, they then have Fulham, Everton, Crystal Palace, Leeds, Southampton, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Newcastle and Brighton. So quite a nice just sea of green fixtures there. Again, I still think Mendy is the best. He's only 5 mil this season, and as you can see, they only play Liverpool, which is like the toughest game until like game week 19, where they play City. They don't actually play any I don't think they play any of the top 4, barring Tottenham, until game week 19, and obviously Liverpool as well. But I mean, it's just a sea of green fixtures, really. So just really, really good for Mendy there. I definitely think he's a really good option. He will just keep, I think he's just going to keep getting your points constantly over the course of the first like 15 game weeks. Of course, we don't know how Chelsea's going to set up at the back now that Rudiger's gone. Are they going to just change to a back 4, or are they going to change to, or they're just going to keep that back 5 and allow Chilwell and James to just you know, run forward to their heart's content? Other goalkeepers that definitely deserve a mention though: Pickford is only 4.5. Of course, Brighton's keeper Sanchez only 4.5. I don't think their fixtures are too good at the start of the season though. Let me just double check that real quick before I say that. I mean, they start off with United, Newcastle and West Ham. Kind of tricky fixtures, but then they do have Leeds and Fulham. So I mean, you could have Sanchez. He has been a player that a lot of people have brought into their teams like in the past, just because he's, you know, he's a very solid 4.5 mil keeper. Also the likes of Henderson as well, who's just signed a loan deal with Nottingham Forest. Again, he will miss 2 games in the season, obviously, because he can't play against Man United. But if you do have 2 4.5 mil keepers, then of course you can just alternate those. That's the keeper selection though. The back 5, the back 5 defenders that I think you should potentially be thinking about bringing into your team, and there's a reason behind every single one. I'm not just gone for a cheap player and just brought him in. There's actually a reason that I've put all of these players on your screen right now. So first off, Williams, of course, currently playing for Liverpool, but very, very likely to be signing for Forest very, very soon, for 17 mil, I do believe. This dude is a really, really good player. I think he was on loan to Fulham last season and played really, really well. I think he averaged like 1.4 shots a game, which is really, really nice. He's a right wing back, which is, of course, what Forest need. We have just lost Jed Spence because we had him on loan from Middlesbrough for last season. And obviously, it's a big loss. But I think that Williams is a really good replacement. So he should just fit straight back into that right wing back spot. He's only 4 mil. I can't see him not starting for us, really, because like I said, we've just lost Spence, so he's literally just filling in that gap, and he's only 4 mil. He's a really good player, obviously plays for like Wales and everything like that. We'll have that link up with Brennan Johnson, who of course is also Welsh and will be playing forward. So yeah, I think that Nico Williams for 4 mil I think is an absolute bargain. Of course, is still playing for Liverpool at the moment, but very, very likely to be announced to be playing for Forest very, very soon. The next one is Patterson. Now, he's just been brought in for Everton, and he's also, I think, a right wing back. Now, the reason that I brought him in is because Coleman is like 33 now, and so they're going to be looking for like a replacement for him. So they could be starting Patterson instead of him. You know, he's young, he's energetic, he's explosive, and I think that, you know, this could be the season where he moves into that like first starting 11, and again, he's only 4 mil as well. Again, we'll have to wait for preseason and stuff, but I think that Patterson probably will take Coleman's spot, and for 4 mil again, he's an absolute bargain. Next up, we've got Phillips, another Liverpool player, but very, very close to signing for Bournemouth. So again, another 4 mil player who, you know, should be starting, was obviously a key player in their promotion last season. So yeah, I could see Bournemouth definitely wanting to swoop him up. He's not really going to play for Liverpool, so he'll want to move. And of course, he does play Fulham and Crystal Palace, first 2 fixtures of the season, so not too bad there. But again, another 4 mil defender that I definitely think is worth it if you're trying to get funds for other players. Now, I'm not saying just bring in like a bunch of 4.5 mil defenders, because that's just not the way to play FPL. You still want your James, your Trents, your Robertsons, your Cancelos, your Chilwells. It's just if you're only playing 4 at the back, one of these could be that 5th player at the back who will play, is a really good bench option just in case someone doesn't play or gets injured or whatever. So yeah, that's the only reason that I'm kind of like telling you to like bring in these players. Next up, this is a little bit of a riskier one, but Dalot. I mean, I think United are kind of wanting to sell Wan-Bissaka. There's been a lot of talk about it, and if they end up selling him, then Dalot will of course be their right back first choice. So yeah, if Wan-Bissaka does go, I think that Dalot could be a really nice player to bring in. Of course, under the new manager, they could be a lot better at the back, so he could be an absolute steal for only 4.5 mil. Only owned by 0.8% of teams as well. Again, would only bring him in if Wan-Bissaka leaves, because if he doesn't, there will be rotation between these two. Or Dalot could just be the first choice regardless. But either way, I think it'd be a lot more safer to bring him in if Wan-Bissaka leaves. But again, a really cheap option into that United defense if they end up turning things around and actually keeping the ball out the back of the net. Justin, another very cheap, explosive wing back, 4.5 mil. Of course, was just fraught with injuries last season, but I think that you know, now he's back. He did get a bit more game time towards the end of last season. I think that if he is going to start, I think this guy is really good. He was like 5.5 I think a couple of seasons ago before like the injury and everything. But yeah, had him in my team a few seasons ago. Really good player. Definitely think about bringing him in if he's going to be in that starting 11. Next up, Martinelli is 6 mil, but I think that he's pretty much claimed that starting 11 spot from Smith Rowe. But of course, there will be rotation because of European commitments and stuff. So, you know, it depends if he's going to be playing more for European games or for the Premier League. Again, it is 6 mil. I think there's better 6 mil options than him. But, you know, if you can't afford Saka and you do want to gamble it, I think Martinelli could be a good shout. But again, only if there's not really any other options. 14.9% owned though, so I think a lot of people have the same kind of idea. But again, we'll have to see what happens pre-season. Next up, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Chukwuemeka. I definitely botched that. But yeah, this guy, 4.5 mil. He's a young talent, and Gerrard does like young players. You know, we saw him put a lot of faith in Ramsey last season, and I think it'll be the same kind of situation as with this player too. So again, probably not the best option to bring in, but if you do want a Villa player for those first 3 fixtures of Bournemouth, Everton, Crystal Palace, he could be given a chance. Now, I don't think he's going to start every game at all, but I think he could be brought on, and potentially, you know, if he has a good season, he could get a few starts as well, but probably not the best player to kind of have as a midfielder, because midfielders are so important this season. Next up, though, we have Rashford. Now, Rashford is only on this list because he's 6.5 mil, which is crazy to me. That's like so cheap for Rashford. Of course, prior seasons has been 9.5, 9, 10, whatever, but he's 6.5 this season. Of course, that's because he had an awful season last season. I mean, most of United players did, barring like Ronaldo and De Gea. But, you know, if he makes his way into the starting 11, you know, if Ronaldo does leave, Rashford can play up front, and he's down as a midfielder, and if he stays and he has a good season and he plays up front for them, I think he could be an absolute bargain. Again, depends if Ronaldo leaves, but Rashford could easily slot into the middle, and then they could play, you know, Sancho on the left or whatever. There's a lot of transfer talk around United at the moment, you know, players coming in, players going out. But I think, you know, if Ronaldo does leave, I think Rashford could be a really good option. Of course, wait for pre-season. I don't think Ronaldo's actually travelled with him for pre-season, but again, still keep your eyes on Rashford, because 6.5 mil, I think that's an absolute bargain for him. Diaz, 8 mil. I mean, this is just a player that I think is a Mane replacement, and I think he's just really cheap. We saw how good he was last season. There's not really too much to talk about. There are other 8 mil options as well, the likes of Foden. Mount is another one. Saka, obviously. I think Diaz and Foden are the best. I think Foden is going to claim that left wing spot more now, especially with Sterling potentially going to Chelsea and Grealish, you know, not starting that much. I think it will be Foden up top in that left-hand side, with obviously Haaland in the middle, like De Bruyne behind or something like that. But I think Diaz is another really good option for 8 mil. Will replace Mane. They have obviously got more forwards that they brought in this season from like Fulham and stuff. But I think that Diaz should be the starting left wing. Next up, we've got another United player, Andreas Pereira, but very, very strong links with Fulham. If he does go to Fulham, he's just another player that you can just have on your team if you are just trying to fill that fifth spot. Again, could be really, really good for Fulham. Didn't really work out for United, unfortunately, as sometimes it just doesn't. But yeah, you know, he's very, very likely to go to Fulham. I don't know what the transfer price is, but if he does go to Fulham, again, could be really, really good this season. Again, just another player just to keep your eye on. Again, this could change a lot due to like transfers and stuff like that, but definitely someone to, yeah, just keep your eye on. Next up, we've got Johnson for Forest. Again, this all depends on like penalties and stuff like that. You know, he did take our pens last season. I mean, it was originally Graben, but obviously he didn't get much game time towards the end of the season. It kind of fell to Johnson. He did miss a penalty last season, but he also scored a couple as well. He wasn't the best penalty taker, in my opinion. A lot of them were like soft penalties, and, you know, like I think one he just kind of stroked down the middle, which was, you know, very risky, but it still obviously went in. But yeah, 6 mil, I think. If it was 5.5, it'd be a lot better. Also, a little bit annoying that he's down as a forward and not a midfielder. But again, could have really strong links with Williams down like that like the right flank and stuff like that. So potentially could be a really good option. But again, there's not really that many decent 6 mil forwards this season. There's obviously the likes of Jesus and Havertz and stuff that are 8 mil, which again is a little bit expensive, especially when you're trying to bring like these premium players in. But again, I think Johnson definitely could be a good option. We've got Greenwood as well. He's only 4.5. He could be getting a lot more game time now. It all depends if like Rafinha leaves, how Bamford is. But I think if you are trying to just fill that last spot for forwards, I think Greenwood could be a good option. And then finishing things off, we also have Undav. I probably said that wrong. Scored like 20 odd goals last season. I think could be a really good player. I don't think we're going to see too much of him pre-season, but I think he could be a really good bargain at 5.5. You know, like I say, Brighton needs some. They created so many chances last season. They just didn't have a clinical finisher, and this could be that guy. So he could definitely be an absolute steal at 5.5. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, though, that is just a bunch of very cheap players that you potentially could be bringing into your squad. Try and give them like all the backstory as to why they're on this list, and hopefully it helps you out if you are trying to, you know, get a cheap player in. You know, maybe you need 0.5 more to bring in a big player, and, you know, the answer to that is a Williams, a Patterson, a Phillips, or somebody like that. Either way, though, if you did enjoy, please do drop a like down below. Subscribe if you're brand new. Leave a comment. That's everything from me. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and until next time, peace.